Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the latest live edition of the Winter Circle, presented by Naira and Naira Bets, the official online betting partner of the Belmont Stakes and Saratoga Racecourse. I'm Bram Weinstein. That is Dan Torgman. Dan Torgman does streams all day, every day for this entire summer, and he's recovering today from a trip to Saratoga. What's up, Dan?
Not much. I do have an appearance of recovery, don't I? Like I've got my voice is a little hoarse, the eyes are a little bleary. No, look, it was great to be at Saratoga this past weekend. Saturday, I think we saw some of the best racing we're going to see all year. I think we saw at least two contenders for race of the year without question.
Yeah.
Just some massive performances, horses asserting themselves as being, at the top of their divisions. And lots of, if not controversy, then shenanigans between the horses, stuff that we haven't seen in a little while. So I'm excited to jump into all that.
Yeah, we'll get into the biting incident in a bit, but let's just start at the top with the chalk, and let's go with the Travers, where obviously, going in as a favorite in that race has been something that has not played out particularly well for favorites in the past, but this year was different. So check out the Travers Stakes from the other day.
Coming for the top of the stretch in the run, Happy Travers, and it is Midnight Bourbon and Essential Quality, and now their heads apart as they head for home with the roar of the Saratoga crowd. It is Essential Quality on the outside of Midnight Bourbon. The two of them are right together inside the eighth pole. Essential Quality narrowly. Midnight Bourbon continues the battle on. They're coming down for the finish. It is Essential Quality and Midnight Bourbon. Essential Quality has won the run, Happy Travers. He won the Belmont with class. He wins the run, Happy Travers with style.
All right, so there's a couple things here, and Dan and I always end up talking about the second place finisher a lot. I've noticed that, and I want to bring him up first because I don't know where you were on Midnight Bourbon, but he's been the classic close, no cigar horse for the entire year. So when I went into thinking about it and handicapping it yesterday, I wouldn't say I tossed him, but I would say this: I didn't expect him to be there in a match race down the stretch with Essential Quality. So before we get to Essential Quality, it's no surprise that he won. What were your thoughts on Midnight Bourbon, and what did you think of him coming into the race?
I thought he ran a huge race. He did what I sort of expected him to do. I thought it might be tough for him to hold on, but the only scenario in which I saw Essential Quality losing was if Midnight Bourbon got loose on the lead, went extremely slow, and then just, dug in enough to hang on. So I don't think he surprised me much, to be honest. He's shown that when he gets to the front, he's dangerous. The issue with him in his recent races is that he hasn't been able to get to the front because he's been in races with faster horses. In the Derby, of course, Medina Spirit was up front, but apart from that, he didn't break from the gate well. And so, and it just seems like he just keeps running into other pace in all these races. So no, I think if he's ever in a race where you see him being potentially the controlling speed, you can now expect that Midnight Bourbon is going to be game and gutsy and hold on. And he held everyone else off aside from the big one.
Yeah. All right. So on Essential Quality, I think we're at the point now where if he had a better trip in the Kentucky Derby, we'd be talking about him differently in terms of his place in history, because this has happened numerous times. And I assume he's going to be in the Breeders' Cup Classic, right? We're all assuming that's going to be the case. So if he gets there and beats Knicks Go and whoever else is there with him, I think we're going to end up, having a very different discussion about the year. And it turns out that the trip that he took in the Derby, which not partially his fault because he just got caught up in a lot of traffic, is the difference between, I think, marking him down in history as one of the great thoroughbred racehorses.
Yeah. Look, I saw a couple of things, as we start having these discussions, start thinking ahead, not only to the Breeders' Cup, but to horse of the year and that sort of thing. Essential Quality is certainly right there in the running. A horse we're going to take a look at in a moment, Latruska, I think is one who, based on her accomplishments thus far this year, has to be considered. So there's still a lot to be said there. And when you look at how the year unfolded, look, there was, earlier in the year that there were horses like Life is Good, who, you thought were building up to huge campaigns. In terms of the classic division, some of the older horses, Knicks Go, we expected more from earlier in the year. We didn't get it. But now Knicks Go maybe putting it together. So, I think looking ahead to the Classic specifically, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think you're starting to see the cream rise to the top, and Essential Quality, really with that effort again, hasn't seemingly had things his way at all in any race in terms of his recent races. Always seems to have trouble, the Derby in particular, where he's caught wide doing all that extra work. But he always seems to find a way. And, I think on Saturday, he just showed again, no matter what the scenario is, he's gonna find a way. And so that makes him a very dangerous player in the Classic and beyond.
Yeah, I agree. All right. You mentioned Latruska. Let's check out the Personal Ensign. Here's the stretch call from that race over the weekend.
Chasing Latruska, who ran 3/4 in 1:10.3 and has the lead at the top of the stretch. Swiss Skydivers down towards the rail. Harvey's Little Girl has asked for more. Bonnie South is in between horses. On the outside is Dunbar Road and Royal Flag, and now there's an 1/8 of a mile to the finish. It is still Latruska. Dunbar Road gaining on the outside. Royal Flag is there, and Bonnie South, they're coming on to the finish. It is Latruska holding on to the lead. Latruska won it by a half length.
Just couldn't get her. I mean, like there's that professional slight move to your right to impede enough of a rush of one of your rivals there. So expert ride, and obviously a tremendous amount in the tank there for her, and she just continues to impress.
Yeah, and I mean, what we don't see there in the stretch run is the fact that there were 3 horses that took 3. Sorry, that was my cell phone dropping. Took 3 separate runs at her, trying to get her to sort of use that energy early so that she wouldn't have anything left late. And you know me, I've been saying this actually for a couple of weeks now, probably being unfair to Latruska. I want to see what happens when she actually gets challenged. Well, she was challenged this time. She was challenged by several horses a number of different times. And man, at Turning for Home, if you had if you had Bonnie South, you were just hoping for some running room. If you had Dunbar Road, who was making such an impressive move on the outside, you had to feel at a huge price. I know my man Pete Rotundo had Dunbar Road at a big price. She was rolling on the outside. You thought at least one of them were going by, if not 2 or 3 of them, and Latruska holds all of them off. So it's twofold. On the one hand, like, holy cow, how good is Latruska? Yeah. On the other hand, what does it say about some of these other fillies and mares in this division when everything gets set up for someone to win and they still can't get by her? Matt Bernier made a similar point when we were live on Saturday at Saratoga. Latruska is, she just seems to be getting better race to race. And I heard people making the case before this race. Well, she's run 3 massive races in a row. I mean, she's due to flop one of these times, but it just hasn't happened. She just continues to roll.
I agree. It just hasn't happened yet. And maybe it would happen at the wrong time at Del Mar this fall, but we'll find out. We'll find out when we get there. All right. One more from over the weekend before we get to the biting, which I really can't wait to get to. But the Jerkin Stakes, Alan Jerkin Stakes. You had mentioned Life is Good earlier, who was going to be a monster on the Derby Trail, ended up getting hurt and ended up not racing in those races. And here he has made a comeback. And here was Life is Good. And all right, let's just watch it first, and then we'll come to some conclusions afterwards. Here's the stretch run of the Jerkin Stakes.
Oh, a little late here. Hold on. This is me. This is totally my fault because JD left. And so I'm just,
Uh-huh.
Which one is it? Hold on. Hopefully I can find it.
Which one is it? What do you mean, which one is it?
Chasing Latruska, around 3/4. At the top of the stretch. Life is Good. Room on the inside for Jackie's Warrior. And now here he comes. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. There's an 1/8 of a mile to the finish. Jackie's Warrior. Life is Good. Not done yet on the outside. A 16th to the finish. It's Jackie's Warrior. Life is Good. The 2 of them will battle it out to the finish in the Alan Jerkins. And it's going to be Jackie's Warrior by a head.
All right, great finish. What you don't see clearly, you have to be paying attention right at the top of the stretch, is Life is Good's got what looks to be a pretty good lead and just kind of fades out into the center of the track and leaves the rail just wide open there. So I think that's what your problem is, Dan, right? With what Mike Smith did. Is that what your problem is? Because I don't know, he was kind of right there and was kind of leading, and this turned into a 2-horse race. So What problem do you have with Mike Smith today?
So I have no particular problem myself with Mike Smith. I did hear some chirping about the ride, though, and I think, look, I get it. If you had Life is Good, you're looking at the race this horse is running off this long break, and you're like, oh my God, like massive effort from this horse. Who knew he was going to be able to, outgun Jackie's Warrior? And like you said, turning for home, he looked like a clear winner. But yeah, I mean, maybe moving, a touch early, maybe being a little too aggressive early, and also bringing the horse out to the center of the track and allowing the horse to wander. And if you remember, and I'm sure you do, when we were on with Matt way back earlier this year, you remember that was his thing. He's like, this horse
did that thing in a race. He won by 58 lengths or whatever it was. And I remember sitting there going, if he does that against decent competition, there's going to be a problem down the road. And there it was again, that he did do that. And it was slight. The one back in the spring was ridiculous. It was kind of like, where are you going? It was like taking a right turn, but he was so far ahead of everybody, it didn't matter. In this case, I would describe this more as just drifted a little bit, but it was enough. It was enough. It wasn't enough for me to go full on Mike Smith blew it. But I hear you, and I hear anybody who criticizes, I don't know why you left the window open that wide, even if it was a slight drift, to allow to allow to happen what did happen over the weekend.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Life is Good ran a massive race. Jackie's Warrior ran an even bigger race. Just super impressed by Jackie's Warrior. But if you're looking at Life is Good moving forward, I'm not trying to say that Mike Smith shouldn't be riding the horse, but I do think that this is a horse who clearly has his quirks, who clearly needs to be reminded and encouraged and ridden right through the finish line. And I think when you start thinking of riders like Joel Rosario, who are going to get every single inch and like relentlessly ride a horse until the race is absolutely over. I think there may potentially at some point you may see a switch. But look, I might say, Mike Smith is a legend, Hall of Famer, GOAT, everything. We've had him on a number of different things. We love Mike Smith. But look, it was not.
There was a hot take in there, Dan. There was a hot take in there. It wasn't a full listen to me, this is how it has to be hot take, but there was a hot take in there.
No, I love Mike. I mean, it pains me. It pains me. I've got my hottest take still coming up later on. We'll start talking about the Mets, but I'll leave it for that.
All right. We will get to that in a bit. But first, bet your favorite tracks online with Naira Bets, available nationwide in 30 states. Naira Bets offers best-in-class HD live video and replays, online contests to compete with other Naira Bets players, exclusive promotions that give back more, and expert picks and analysis. With an easy-to-use, free-to-download app, betting horse racing online has never been easier and safer. Sign up for Naira Bets now to earn a $200 sign-up bonus with promo code ABR200. Welcome back to the Winner's Circle, presented by Naira and Naira Bets. I'm Bram Weinstein with Dan Torgman. All right, let's get to the weird biting incident. Forgo Stakes, Firenze Fire. First, just check out the stretch run here, and then we will show you up close and personal that this horse got pissed in the middle of the race and started doing crazy stuff. So, all right, so check this out.
45 and 3, just in behind, it's Mind Control. Chance it towards the rail, doubly blessed on the outside. Mischievous Alex has gained ground down at the rail. Then it is Whitmore and Lexitonian as they hit the furlong marker. Firenze Fire and Yopon. The two of them are battling it out here through the stretch. On the outside, Firenze Fire. On the inside, it is Yopon. Firenze Fire seemed to savage Yopon there in the stretch, and it's going to be Yopon who gets to the wire first. Firenze Fire was right there. The 7 furlongs in 1:21 and 3.
All right, here we go. Right.
So in real time, you saw what happened, and in slow-mo time, this is nuts, Dan. I mean, the horse is reaching over. It looks like, I don't know, initially try to kiss him. Then he goes to bite him. I don't know. I haven't seen this from horses of this level. I mean, this is crazy, really.
If that's a kiss, I mean, it actually reminds me of some of like your first kiss, when you're a kid, you think like, all right, I'm going in for this. It was one of those kinds of kisses. You end up going tooth to lip. But that was, that was all teeth there. And just, look, I think we don't see it often enough, but it does happen. And you don't see it in instances like this. And I made the case right away when watching it, like, this is not a 2-year-old horse who's just, wound up and, is just doing this for the first time. That's Firenze Fire, right? Like the horse, I don't have his numbers in front of me. I mean, the horse has run at least a couple of dozen times. He's an older horse. He's been here before. And, in fact, he's been on the receiving end of that as well. So like, it's like, how in the world did that happen on that stage? It was shocking to see. And from a betting perspective, we had a day on Saturday where the favorites won every single race. So if you were betting, you got Firenze Fire, you're like, you know what? I'm home clear here. I'm about to win. And the horse went off at 8-1. I, for years, have said Firenze Fire cannot win outside of Belmont. He almost proved me wrong. He almost proved anybody wrong who doubted him. Went off at 8-1. You're there holding your ticket on Firenze Fire thinking like, all right, we got this. The race is over. And in doing that, he cost himself the race. I mean, it was insane. I mean, there was no question he was going to win the race. And just heartbreaking, obviously, if you're associated with that horse, with that team, or if you had a ticket with that horse on it. That was.
All right. So what? How does that happen? What's the explanation for that? Like, what do the jockeys even say? I mean, I did appreciate how the jockeys were like, kind of like, oh my God, like you could see them like kind of grabbing each other, like, I don't know what that was, like almost like, I don't know what in the world just happened there down the stretch. It could have been, I don't know. Like, fortunately, the other horse didn't react, crazy to it, honestly. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah. No, look, this is, it's impossible to know, obviously, what's going on inside the mind of the horse. But I will say, this is a horse who's been through a hell of a lot. I mean, let's not forget, this is a horse who's previously trained by Jason Servis. This is a horse who, has switched hands, has gone through some highs and some lows, and now, seems to have, proven himself a classy horse, a very good horse, has had success post-service. It continues to do some incredible things, specifically when he's at Belmont, and now was about to get a big grade one here, which would have just been a stamp on his career, which would have just been like, all right, this horse is, one of the best horses we've seen in recent memory. So it's kind of unfortunate for the horse, but look, that horse has been around for a while, has seen some stuff, has experienced some stuff in all likelihood. And, he continues to be game. You feel for him, and you feel for the connections losing that way, because he certainly seemed to be on his way to victory. But
I want to hear what they have to say. Like, what happened? Like, what do you think got to him? What
was
it? Was it like what?
Nobody knows. What's that?
In the stretch, a 16th of a mile away from the finish, like, what in the world got to him to do that? Had he done that in training? Like, I don't know. It just seems nuts. I don't know.
I'm sure there are theories out there, and if people have them, share them. But in reality, the only thing I think you could plausibly argue is that it happened to him before. He was on the receiving end of that a while back. Like another horse tried doing that to him. And so maybe it's something that kind of stuck in his memory and mind, and he was like, "Ooh, it's just me and another horse. We're in the stretch here." And so, so here's that theory. Since he was on the receiving end of it, maybe he thought, "Hey, you know what? This is this is how we're doing it now. We're not only racing, we're biting each other at the end."
So Firenze Fire is literally the definition of Florida man now, is what we've. That's what we've got.
Of what?
He's Florida man. He'll do something nuts. It's Florida man. He'll always do something crazy. Only in Florida, and now the horses fall into that category too. All right. All right. One more race I want to get to from Del Mar, the Shared Belief, which is, all right, let's get into the controversy of it, because obviously who was running it is the most controversial name in racing at this point. So here's the Shared Belief from Del Mar over the weekend.
Spirit in the red cap at the rail. Rock Your World goes stride for stride. Team Merchants running a tough one.
Team Merchants comes to take them on. And even Stiletto Boy running on now. Stiletto Boy on the outside. The Great One at the rail. Any one of 5. Medina Spirits now has to dig deep and find more. Rock Your World not quite doing enough. On the extreme outside is Stiletto Boy. Team Merchants a bit of bumping on the inside. The Great One. But Medina Spirit keeps on finding. Rock Your World's come right back at him. Medina Spirit's going to win it. Medina Spirit has taken the shared belief. Game run from Rock Your World second.
All right, couple things here. For some bizarre reason, the 3rd and 4th place horses decided to play bumper cars in the middle of the stretch and basically eliminated each other from having any opportunity to change the outcome. Good run by Rock Your World, just not enough. And for Medina Spirit, heck of a race. But let me start with elephant in the room, because we know who Medina Spirit is and the controversy that surrounded that horse back in the spring. Do you have any issue with Medina Spirit racing at this point and winning major stakes races right now?
I don't know that I have a particular issue with it. I mean, I think the horse should be allowed to run, right? This is a key time in any horse's career, right? Like the middle, the summer of their 3-year-old season, right? I mean, you want the horse to be able to participate in these races, right? Like the horse shouldn't be punished. The owners, you can make the argument, like, what responsibility do they bear as, sort of you have this sort of pending outcome here of the Kentucky Derby decision. We're still waiting to hear if and when and whether Churchill Downs will take action on the result of the Kentucky Derby. But, there's still a lot of litigation out there. There's still, there's still a pending outcome. Now, look, we can, we could certainly land on some conclusions. We know for a fact that there was a positive test coming out of the Kentucky Derby. So, I mean, there's not much disputing that. If anything, look, I'll say this. I mean, the horse's name and what he's done to date has been tainted and is mired in this controversy.
No doubt.
But I think what the horse showed yesterday, and again, if you're operating on the presumption that, well, if they were doing something before, or, like if they were, maybe they were taking some liberties before, now they're being extra cautious, right? Because you don't want to get, you obviously don't want to raise any more red flags. You possibly take a chance of having, whatever they want to call it, minimal amounts of trace amounts of whatever it might be. Then here's an example of the horse doing it and validating himself, I think, which bodes well for him, and I think makes a case for him. And honestly, I think, I always said this about like guys like A-Rod, for example. Like, it's a damn shame because A-Rod was so naturally gifted. Like, he didn't need to do any of that stuff. Now, I don't know how good the numbers would have been at the end, but he didn't need to do any of that. He was a raw talent. He was a natural talent. Same thing, I think, when you look at a horse like this. The horse clearly has natural early speed, and he clearly has a huge heart. And he did here what he has done every single time he has run, and that is he has not let horses go by him. Now, when he's been like behind, when he hasn't broken well or he's run behind horses, he sometimes hasn't passed horses. But very rarely in his career has he ever let a horse actually go by him, no matter how much pressure he took early, no matter how fast he went. And he did the same thing here. And he did the same thing here. I think he's a super gutsy horse. I have sort of I kind of feel for the horse a little bit. I mean, it sounds weird. I mean, not like the horse is aware of like the the ongoing controversy.
Right. But no one's blaming the horse. I mean, like we all get that. It's just, I don't know what he represents. Okay, is where I think the problem comes in, because anyone who's like casually following this, or even me who doesn't casually follow it, and see here he is in this big stakes race, and I'm sitting there going, we haven't even resolved what happened in the spring yet, and like at some point, like I get it. Everyone's got their rights and they get to do whatever they want to do, but there's just a representation there that just doesn't feel right at this point to me. So, and again, like I get it. It's a really good horse and he should be allowed to race, and I'm all for due process, and I'm all for all of those things. There's just a representation that occurred here. And especially in seeing him win, where I'm like, like, here we go again. We're just we're bringing this back up again months later. And then to your point, and I think a lot of people, who aren't P1 following this every day are going, that's right. They never did render a decision about the Kentucky Derby. Now, did they? So
You know?
I don't know.
Yeah, look,
Meyer
and I feel like there's a part of me that thinks that if it comes across the timeline of anyone who, to your point, isn't following this stuff day in day out, it feels a little icky and weird. They probably
Yes.
do a double take and say, "Wait,
Wait,
this
what?
horse is still allowed
Right.
to race right now?"
Right.
So yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I don't know what the answer is. It's because, like, to your point about like humans who've been caught with performance enhancing substances, it's not like they've ever been kicked out of their events like in perpetuity. Barry Bonds wasn't, Alex Rodriguez wasn't. Like they may have gotten fined, suspended, whatever, and then you'd feel however you would feel when they came back and performed again. And so this sport's no different in any other way, no different. The only one where there's just like where the hammer comes down is, and it's only because of the one-off nature of it, is the Olympics. If you get caught beforehand, you're not going to compete in the Olympics, and then it's gone and it doesn't come back. Everything else, there's another game the next day, and people get their opportunity. And I am all for due process here. I just there was an icky feeling about it, and then I see him win, and I'm like, oh yeah, so it's going to be revisited, and then you just get reminded of the things that are still hanging chads about the whole thing, and that's bothersome.
And again, just last point for me on this, I think it's another reminder of the fragmentation of racing and the fact that you've got these various jurisdictions running racing with their own rules, and kind of mandating what they want. I mean, you saw NYRA for a minute there until it got pulled back on them.
Right.
They didn't want to allow Bob to run. They said he couldn't. They suspended him from running. You see Churchill Downs saying, he can't run his horses here, can't run in the Derby. But these other jurisdictions are set up differently. They have the right to make their own rules. They don't want to open themselves up to litigation. Santa Anita, sir, and Del Mar. You talk about the Stronach Group. You talk about Del Mar. They come down and say, hey, look, we don't want Bob's horses here. They know what they're doing. They're opening themselves up to. Yeah. They're putting themselves into the controversy as they see it, even though we should all be in this together as horse racing, right? And we should all.
I mean, don't even get me started on the no central body thing. I mean, I could go on for hours about how this sport of all of them really needs a central body so terribly bad to kind of litigate all this stuff and set rules for all of these jurisdictions. But, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. So it's just like yelling into the wind. It's pointless to yell about it. All right, let's drop this for now. We'll get into Dan. Dan is very upset as a Mets fan that he got booed by his own players yesterday. So we'll get into that in a second, but first watch this.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and NYRA Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With NYRA Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the NYRA Bets app or visit NYRABets.com.
And welcome back to the Winner Circle. I'm Bram Weinstein with Dan Torgman. We're presented by NYRA and NYRA Bets. All right, I want to hear about, get a quick recap before we do the Mets thing. You were at Travers Day. Ian Rappaport, the NFL insider, I don't know how he had the time to show up and do this in the middle of the end of the preseason with all the cuts coming in the trades and Deshaun Watson and whatever else is going to happen in the NFL before the season starts. But you got him there, and you guys were in the midst. You were in the midst of the whole crowd there. So give me the 30-second recap of what Travers Day was like.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we were set up in the backyard. Like, big shout out to our video production team for getting out there bright and early. We had lights, we had cameras, we had a nice crowd around us. In the middle of the day, we came on, we covered two of the three win and you're in races for the Breeders' Cup, the Ballerina and the Personal Ensign. And then, Ian came on. Matt, I told him before we started, I said, Matt, I'm like basically strictly horse racing at this point, maybe a little baseball. NFL, I haven't even had a moment to turn my eye to. I said, Matt, just like I would tell you, Bram, if we were live out there, then you're carrying this conversation with me because I have no idea what to ask him, like what the hot issues are right now. So take it. So Matt asked him, of course, being a Pat's guy right off the bat, Mac Jones. I mean, right without skipping a beat. And then as we were winding down, I said, all right, Ian, you know what? Let me ask you one football question. I said, since we're in New York, let me ask you about the New York team. So tell me about the Giants and the Jets. And he goes, whoa. I'm going to act like you didn't just say, tell me about the New York teams and not at all ask about the Bills, who are A, the best New York team, and B, the closest New York team, and C, the only team that actually plays in New York. So like, you know what? I shouldn't have asked the football question. I should have just left it alone. I should have known.
Oh, he pulled the, I see. All right. Because we all know what you meant. Okay. We all know what you meant.
I told him, I reveal myself as a city guy, not only as a novice, but a total city guy, right? You think of New York football, you think of the Jets and Giants. For me,
well, we had over the weekend we had a Packers-Bills game of which I could sell might be the Super Bowl this year. Packers-Bills. I would that would not be a crazy matchup to me if that ends up happening this year. We'll see. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers is truly locked in or not, or if he's half out the door in Green Bay. We'll find out. But I love the Bill. I love New York's team, the Bills. They are really, really, really good. All right. In the meantime, your Mets, since you are following some baseball, your Mets have cascaded down the standings in a glorious way for the rest of us to watch implode. I think it's partially because you have a crazy owner who spent stupid money on things and all this, and a bad run of injuries with your pitchers and all that stuff. And it's all kind of fallen apart for you. And it's fallen apart in a way that even when they win now, they've decided they're going to boo you. That's what Javi Baez did yesterday after he hit a home run. He booed you and then explained after the game that, yes, when we have success, we're going to boo you because you've been booing us for too long. So your response to your favorite baseball team, that they now boo you when something good happens to them?
Well, should we hear from Javi himself? Should we hear from Javi? Because I
hear it. Okay, sure.
Because I think, what's better than actually hearing him explain why he's booing me, the person who's been to 20 games this year and who has purchased multiple, Vizzy and White Claw drinks and all the rest of it at the track. So at the game. So let's listen.
This is the boo that we get. We're not machines. We're gonna struggle. We're gonna struggle 7 times out of 10, and it just feels bad when we strike out. When I strike out and I get booed, it doesn't really get to me. But I want to let them know that when we success, we're gonna do the same thing to know how to let them know how it feels. Because if we win together, then we gotta lose together. And the fans are really big part of it. So. In my case, they gotta be better. I play for the fans and I love the fans, but if they're gonna do that, they just putting more pressure on the team, and that's not what we want.
That is literally some of the worst logic I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, he says
I think they put out a statement today where they're like, that's unacceptable and we're not going to put up with that, because I don't know, yelling at your paying customers, when you're 7 games under 500, when you have the 3rd highest payroll in the league. I don't know. I think maybe get over it, get over it. And I don't know, booing your customers. Oh, okay, sure. We'll get right on that.
So as we're talking through this, I want to invite anyone who's watching to let us know if they think that they understand, whether they understand where he's coming from or not. But my favorite part of that was how he goes, doesn't bother me or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. That's it doesn't bother me, even though I did it. Yeah, I don't, it doesn't bother. Obviously, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me, but if you boo me, I'm going to boo you back. No, yeah. It is insanity. So here's the deal with the Mets. Like, I think it's unfair. But it is where we are as a society right now. I think maybe it's all the pent up, again, we've talked about this before, like fans acting crazy, being at home for so long, then coming out, having an opportunity to vent and scream and all the rest. So maybe Mets fans are being a little ridiculous, booing Javi Baez 17 games into his Mets career. But
it just came from the Cubs. You know what he's not used to? Because this is like a really abnormal thing in fandom that the Cubs have had in perpetuity, which is their fans don't care when they suck, that they just like going to their games, and it doesn't matter. And it's odd and it's hard to understand why, but like there's sports are so hard to understand sometimes. Like there are more people going to Orioles games these days when they've lost 19 in a row than were going 3, 4, 5 years ago when Buck Showalter was the manager and they were winning and getting into the playoffs and being like a wild card team. And I don't, Can anyone explain why that is? I don't know. Like, are people bored in the pandemic? They don't even care that they're losing. They're going, they're having a nice time. They don't even care. The Cubs have had this forever, and Baez probably used to this. He's not accustomed to them getting booed.
Right.
And in New York, you're a different animal. And honestly, like, I more appreciate the people that go, we want to see you guys try to win, and he's not used to it. So he's going to be here for 2 weeks and start booing these people when that team stinks. He's out of his mind, and he's going to get run out of there so fast he doesn't even know what's about to hit him.
Yeah, so as a Mets fan, I'm actually happy this whole incident happened because I don't want him back next year, because even though he's a great player and a very talented player, he does not fit on this team, in particular because this is not a team that makes a lot of contact. They do not have many quality at-bats, and they do not have many quality hitters, so we can't afford to have the league leader in strikeouts in the middle of our lineup. We need guys who can move base runners along and who can have productive at-bats. So because of that, I don't think he fits on this team, and I think you plug him in the middle of the lineup, this team will be a loser for the next 4 or 5 years, how many years they would sign him for. But apart from that, I do want to say, like, look, it should be clear. Like, these rules are not written anywhere, but there are some basic rules for fans. Like, don't curse the players.
Yeah.
Don't use slurs.
Right.
Don't threaten them or their family.
Be a human being.
Yeah.
But if you strike out, if you go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, I don't know. I think a booze, that's okay. I think we're okay at that point. Or if you've lost, I don't know, if you're a team with the 3rd highest payroll in the league and you've lost 11 of 14, I don't know. That could be frustrating for the people who pay to come see you. I don't know. They could call me crazy, but that might be frustrating to them.
Yeah, it's just such a lack of awareness of kind of like not only the money that the fans are investing to go to the games and buy the merch and support the team, but truly the emotional investment that is following a team over the course of a 162 game season. I'm not saying that like the fans are entitled, like I said, to do crazy things and to actually be, to actually verbally assault these guys. But booing is like, I mean, that's like the oldest form of expression in sports. So yeah, he's got to get it together. I mean, look,
he got soft playing for the Cubs. That's what it is. He's not used to it. Like they lose games, and those people are just like, we like Wrigley. We don't care. Like that's. I lived in when you're in a situation like in a big market like that where Bears fans don't have a problem booing the Bears, but for some reason the Cubs are totally off limits with that because they like their warm, cuddly little Wrigley town, and for some reason it doesn't even matter, win or lose, we don't care. We're having a nice time. They're the Savannah Bananas. We don't care. Whatever.
I do think it's a regional thing. I lived in Missouri for a while, and I remember the Cardinals, for example. I remember going to Cardinals games and watching Cardinals games in which, the Cardinals could be down like 9-1 in a season where there were, 30 games under 500, and one of their ex-players came up to bat and they gave him like a 3-minute standing ovation. Like if it's a different kind of fan. They're in it because they want to support the colors. Once you're on that team, they love you like you're a member of their family. And I'm sorry, when you're in New York, it's not like that. We love you.
No,
you win games
like that.
That's all.
I appreciate that about the East Coast. Okay, you can perform here. We show up. We want to see you win. Not only do we want to go hang out and have we like the sports. Yes, we want to see you win too. Deal with it. You don't like it here? Go play for the Sacramento Kings. Then go ahead, have fun, enjoy. Go be 20-62 if that's what it is. Go ahead, have fun. But what is going to happen now after your hot take today? When Mike Smith wins his next race, he's going to boo you, Dan. He's going to boo you.
Fair enough.
All right. Real quick, we got a show this weekend, right? A Labor Day weekend show, right? A stream. What do we got this weekend?
We do. A couple of Breeders' Cup winning urine races at Saratoga on Saturday. We're excited. Breeders' Cup Road to the Longines Classic Live returns on Saturday. Start time TBD, but I'm glad that we are reuniting. It should be a good show. We're still, some of our co-hosts on that show are still TBD. We've got some fluctuation. We've got some schedule changes. I'll let you know about those at some point, Brian.
I'll be there to the bane of existence of my wife. I will be there Saturday.
Well, at least it's not like I did to you last time. It's not a 9 o'clock start time and staying on till 11 o'clock at night. So
right.
I promise to have you
You can't promise that part, but all right, fine. That's fine. All right, so I'll see you Saturday, Dan. Sounds good. Yep, see you then. All right, that'll do it for today. As always, we're presented by America's Day at the Races, the official live broadcast partner of Aqueduct Racetrack, Belmont Park, Saratoga Racecourse, and tracks nationwide. For Dan, I'm Bram. This has been the Winner's Circle. We'll see you next week.